What's going on YouTube? This is Deke. I am back. It's been about a week and a half since my last post. I am going to get back into more content. I am a youth hockey coach, so we had our tryouts and that was kind of just overwhelming, and I didn't have a lot of time to record anything, especially with the MLS lineups that I do on Twitter. Definitely follow me for that each week. I post those on Thursday to help you with your lineup decisions, and it just took up a lot of my time and I didn't have any free time. So before I get into today's video, I do want to just quickly talk about something that is kind of overpowered that makes zero sense, but then kind of makes sense. So if you take a look at this, this is last midweek. I got 10th place out of 391 with a DMP goalkeeper, and I only scored 256 points. So yeah, this team got 10th place. That is horrendous. Inacio got 61. That's great. Palacios got 92. That's great. But other than that, this isn't that great of a team whatsoever. 256 points, and it won me a Timothy Tillman to add to my LAFC under 23 stack. I'm pretty psyched about this. I decided to keep him, at least for now. Will I move him? I don't know. I just have so many LAFC players, it just makes sense to keep him. So that was a very surprising win that I got there, 10th place. It's crazy. And if we take a look at now this week, there is still time left, but I got a little bit lucky with Hasal starting, but then he only got 15 points, giving up 3 goals, and none of my guys got any decisives from that match. If there were goals, it is what it is, but Palacios played well. Tillman, all right. I captained him. Should have captained Palacios. Opoku is my only forward that I had, so nothing that I could do there. He only played 45 minutes. And with this, as far as under 23 goalies, there's only like 3 per slate. That's why I've gotten a little bit lucky. The CONCACAF Champions League has been very, very nice to have a little bit of extra utility. And while I am currently sitting in 18th out of 569 and sitting at a tier 3, I do have one guy to play. And if maybe he can get a 60, well, that'd be great. But they're playing Juventus, and I really don't have any high hopes. Maybe a 40 to 50 can keep me in that range. I think anything north of 200 will probably be a reward, which is kind of insane to think about. Whenever the weekend, I can't even sniff rewards, and I'm scoring like 350 in Rare Pro under 23, but that's not even close to a reward. So again, I have a little bit of a sweat. I was in first place because I had all those guys playing earlier. It's kind of cool to see yourself in first place. I've never even podiumed. I've gotten a 4th place. I've gotten a 10th place now. Never podium. So maybe something special happens here, but there's still a lot of players to play, and I really don't think that I'll be able to hold. I do think I'm going to get a reward, so anything is great, especially that Tillman's like 0.12, 0.13, 0.14. So just surprising to get anything. My one mistake is I had Varela and Florentino Luis. Nothing there, but I do have Alan Varela, and he put up like 60 some, so maybe if I put him in there, but I guess maybe take out Tillman, but whatever. So that brings us to our video. We are actually taking a look at dumpster diving for Cap 220 Rare. So Cap 220 Rare is nice because it's a transition into the rare mode. So if you're a limited player and you want to try this out, you don't need a goalie that is rare, which is your biggest price point to get into this. So you can have 1 limited, highly suggest it's your goalkeeper, and 4 rare cards. So what I'm going to do is kind of do a dumpster diving as far as points and try and get as cheap as possible while it is a little bit expensive to get in the rare. I'm going to try and save as much as I can. So if this is your first time on the channel, make sure you subscribe. It helps me out. I'm almost at 1,000 followers, subscribers, and that'd be big for me. So we're gonna start a goalkeeper. I could have went multiple ways here. I was thinking Luis Barraza, but I actually went a different way with this. So I went with Ivicic. Ivacic, however you want to say it, from the Portland Timbers. So he was really good last year. I had his rare. He was my first rare goalkeeper that I had, other than Davy Rofe, who didn't work out too well either. But if you look last year, he was really solid. He's one of the better goalies as far as the entire MLS. He really was good, and Portland was really solid. They have not been good. He kind of lost the job and had that weird situation going on with David Bingham being the starter and then getting an injury. The coach speaking out against him signing a big deal to stay there. Just so many confusing things. He started the 4th game of the season here and he gave up a 5 spot. What can you do? Atlanta was in tremendous form. Nothing you can do. But the last 2 times out, 57.7 and 67.1, 22.7 AA and 32.1 AA. So very nice there. And as far as moving forward, he has a couple tough matchups, I'm not going to lie, but that should only either help or he might get a lot of AA just from saves, things like that. So I'm going to go with him. I was going to go with Luis Barraza, but with Matt Freese, he could come into the fixture. If he gets a start, then, I'm a Luis Barraza holder. I just want to go kind of outside the box. Next guy I don't own, but I really want to get into him. 0.03-ish is what the going rate is. The floor is a little bit higher, but Santiago Arias, he is going to be a starter in my opinion. Him and Ray Gaddis were kind of flip-flopping. Whenever Arias got hurt, Gaddis filled in, and he was okay, but he just doesn't bring the same upside. And at 39 for his L15 and a decent price point, you can see that his first start back, he is playing in a kind of right mid / right wing back role. He had a nice 36 AA against Philadelphia in the clean sheet. And Cincinnati's back line has been unbelievable this year. Celentano and Net has been unbelievable. So definitely one to watch. Whenever he started, you look here, and then he had multiple 60 pluses with no decisives and 30 plus AA in both of those. So coming over from Granada, he looks like he is an unbelievable addition to a very, very great FC Cincinnati defensive line, which we haven't been able to see or say in the last couple of years. 40 on the cost. The cost is around $50 if you can get to that. I wouldn't pay the floor price. I would try to get down a little bit less than that. So Santiago Arias is my defender. Now, next guy has forward and midfield cards. It's kind of split up half and half, 494 and 473. I'm going to go with the midfield card because it is cheaper, and just to give our price point, keep it at a decent point. So Nashville is not an offensive juggernaut as much as you would think they would be with Hani Mukhtar, and they just haven't scored a ton of goals. So if we look here, no goals there, 2 goals there, 0, 0, 2, 0. You can kind of see the trend. But Fafa Picault has been pretty solid without hitting his actual decisives. He does need to hit some decisives to get that upside, as pretty much anyone does. But he does have some nice AA games, back-to-back AA games with yellow cards. So 15.1 here, 19.4 here, and he had a goal there. So as far as the attack, they have Schaffelberg, they have CJ Sapong, Hani Mukhtar, of course. But he is kind of forgotten a little bit, in my opinion, just as far as he's a guy that at 44 L15, you could slide into that lineup, and he has the upside. If he can get a goal, if he can have a solid game, he can really boost up here. So at 0.04 on his floor price, I'm going to buy his midfield in this lineup build, and then stick with my forward as Brian White. So I guess you could say a Brian White believer to a point. He does have some stiff competition around him as far as like Simon Bichir, and there's a lot of guys that can play striker on Vancouver, and they do rotate, but here's why I'm going to include him. Even if they do rotate, he still plays. He has come off the bench 3 times, and he has scored every single time in 20 plus minutes. So even whenever he doesn't start, he is going to come off the bench, most likely, and he could get you a decisive. He has had a solid amount of decisives, and he has been part of the team pretty much every time as far as the last 15 games. So his L15 is a little bit on the higher side for the rest of our group here at 46, but we have a little bit of room. It does say cost of 48. It will boost up a little bit. So At his price, 0.06, forwards are expensive. It just, there's no way around it. Goalkeepers are expensive. Forwards are expensive. He's expensive, but as far as Vancouver at home is really, really good. They have had some struggles here and there. Don't let that LAFC tie loss. They lost 3-0 at home and 3-0 away. LAFC is really good. Vancouver's a pleasant surprise as far as the goals that they've scored. So I do like Brian White. I think he is very goal dependent, but in this lineup build, as far as MLS, and you're playing 220, you're trying to get guys that have upside, and if everything goes right, you can hit a very high score at the 220 level. And our last player is going to be a guy that I have a soft spot for, is Keaton Parks of New York City FC. So his year's not been good. Let's be honest. Is the high 59, 57, 59, 58, 57. He's been in that range. He is not going to kill your team, but he probably doesn't really have the upside as of now to really put you over the edge. However, there have been games where he has been inches away from goals, assists. He does make some great passes that New York City is just not really finishing on. They had that 3-2 win here. 1 goal, 1 goal, 1 goal. 3 goals, 1 goal, 1 goal, 0, 1. You can kind of see how it's going. So he had, unbelievable upside. Whenever I first got into So Rare, he was one of the best cards on the entire site. If this will pop up to the full. Maybe we're having some internet difficulties, but if you could open it up to the full, it would say that he was hitting 90s, 80s, 70 plus every single match. It was unbelievable. He was an absolute stud. I will say that it is a dependent, which is great. He's just putting up these 22, 23, 22, but he can have those low AA games, and he has been subbed a couple times, but this season he's pretty much played 90 every match, except for against New England. He played 65 minutes, and I was very surprised that they took him off, just because he was having a really good game. He had, in 65 minutes, 21.6 AA, and I do think that upside game is coming. So, as you can see here, I own his limited and his rare. I've been playing him in my capped leagues every single time. He's not killing me, but he's not, giving me that upside to win a podium, of course. But especially at his limited price. I know this is a cap 220 video. 0.049 is not terrible for a guy who I really think he's only 25. I thought he was 28 by now, just because it seems like he's been around forever. But only $5.60 for his limited. So if we put them all together, you can see here, again, this price is 0.444 and 0.494. Those are with our goalie. For some reason on server data, you can't change that, or I'm just not smart enough to change it. This should be a limited, so that does bring that price significantly down to a lot less. So for those 4 players, I think if you want to get into the cap 220 mode, if you're going from limited and you want to try, you don't want to put a huge amount in, but you want to play a little bit of rare, I think it's a great opportunity to play a limited goalkeeper and kind of plug and play a few players. Once you can kind of get into that, the next step is getting that goalkeeper, and then I would definitely move to cap 240 if you have a rare goalkeeper and you have 5 players you can play. There's no real reason to play cap 220 unless you just have extra players. But if you're only playing one lineup in rare, you'd probably play the cap 240 if you're on a budget, just because you can earn that $50 in ETH every week if you can hit those thresholds. Those thresholds are a little bit trickier to hit than advertise, I would say. Not that it's a bad thing, it's just I think I've hit one threshold and some of the lineups I've played, they've been kind of goal dependent guys, so it's on me. But I had Brenner, Talos Magno, ridiculous lineup, and didn't quite hit the threshold, and I'm probably 1 for 5 so far hitting thresholds, or probably more. It's what we're in match week 7 or 8. Match week 8 in MLS, so I'm 1 for 7. I tried it without a goalie. That just doesn't work anymore. But again, cap 220 for this, ignore this. And hopefully you guys like this video. I will be putting out more kind of builds and more MLS videos, things like that. So please like, please share, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you guys.